West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. And I have a feeling Bill and I are going to get right back into it, because this hour we're going to talk Israel, Iran, ceasefire.
Strap in, people.
Fox is saying ceasefire violation.
Yeah.
Does that mean there's no ceasefire? Let's just jump right back into it. Why not? Why not? I mean, my mom's texted me this morning saying you guys are going at it.
Seriously? Oh, sorry, Mom. Sorry, Jeff's mom. I apologize. My mom's not awake yet.
It's the definition of the word is. Does Donald Trump deserve credit for what he's been able to achieve in the Middle East? Is there a ceasefire? Is this a violation of the ceasefire? Is there no ceasefire? What do you think is taking place here? Do you support what Donald Trump's been able to achieve? I think this is a tremendous step towards peace. When you think of the terrible regime that controls Iran, the death that it's brought to Americans over the last 40 years, and Donald Trump was able to take out nuclear facilities and do so without any loss of American life. And now Israel and Iran both contacting Donald Trump to want to negotiate a ceasefire. So I think he's done to bring more peace to the Middle East than any administration in the last 40 years. What do you think? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. You know, after 4 hours of going back and forth with Bill, which is really like a boxing match.
Yeah, it is.
I need to go eat lunch. And where I love to eat lunch, because the food is so maha, it's locally sourced. I don't know anybody that eats fast food anymore. Oh, by the way, Bill, there is this great, fantastic Instagram channel about where the guy eats the favorite foods of the presidents. Have you seen this thing?
No.
Okay. I'm going to pull it up here because this is amazing. He's researched what they like to eat regularly and then posts and then actually spends a day trying to make their meals and eat. Oh, so like William Taft ate like 8 steaks a day.
Oh, good Lord.
He was so huge. It was like a 20,000 calorie meal.
Yeah. Isn't he the one that got stuck in the tub?
Yeah, which was a myth, but he actually did have an extra large hot tub.
Extra large,
tub put in there. Hot tub.
I remember about.
It was 7 feet long, 3 feet wide was the hot tub, or the tub that he was in. My goodness.
That seems like a Puff Daddy freak off. Just saying.
This guy put this channel together on what the presidents ate, and like Abraham Lincoln, very thin meal. He was a thin guy. His wife basically had to force him to eat dinner. Donald Trump, this was amazing to me. When Donald Trump eats McDonald's, it's 2 Big Macs, 2 fish fillets, and a small chocolate shake. How in the world do these guys get to pull that off? Anyways,
Yeah,
where
how?
was I? Quality food. If I was in the White House, you know what I'd have delivered to eat? I would just bring Steve over and let Steve cook it. Black Eyed Pea. Love this restaurant. My entire family does. It's one of those all 3-generation restaurants. Homestyle cooking at its best. 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. Bottom line, you want to take the family out to eat at the Black Eyed Pea. Go online at blackeyedpeacolorado.com. Check out their featured menu. And they run throughout the different seasons in Colorado. They have a special barbecue. They have burgers, potato menus, and more. They've built a reputation in Colorado for the best home-cooked meal away from home. It's absolutely true. Love this restaurant. Oftentimes when I take meetings, it's at the Black Eyed Pea. They do catering too. If it's a dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event, make it a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards, always great for someone special, birthday favors, holiday presents. They have you covered. I love everything about this restaurant. I know you will too. Support local like I do. Keep it in Colorado and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. All right, I'm going to see if I can pull up this Instagram channel, which is just fascinating. Okay,
Yeah,
it's called.
I'm really curious about that.
It's called Cooking with Congress.
Oh.
Cooking with Congress, and you can eat like Richard Nixon, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, just don't follow the Ted Kennedy diet.
Or-
Way too much alcohol. Just not good.
Definitely don't
Yeah,
drive.
exactly. I was wondering if it was you or I that was going to go there, my friend. I'm so glad it's you, not me this morning. Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Let's get to news, and then we'll get to Barney. Now is time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Hey, good Tuesday morning. It's a little cloudy out there in Denver, 63 degrees. Expecting a high of 81 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
DJT, my dad used to send us to the basement with boxing gloves. I'm sure he'd like to do that with Israel and Iran right now. The ceasefire is already showing signs of strain as DJT heads to the NATO summit in the Netherlands, where the conflict will be a key topic of discussion. As he left the White House this morning, Trump was asked about the status of the ceasefire. After agreeing to it, Israel overnight accused Iran of violating its terms by launching more missiles. But Iran says Israel dropped some as well.
I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either.
All right, Vice President J.D. Vance.
What I love about that, Blake, is it's not scripted. You're just seeing him real life. You're watching the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, try to negotiate peace. He's openly frustrated. You don't get this. Ladies and gentlemen, we're having conversations with both sides in an effort to assure peace. You're getting, knock it off, you nitwits. I'm tired of this. Yeah,
Exactly.
you knuckleheads.
See,
Jeez.
I look at this whole thing now after the bombings, after they did what they did over the weekend, the U.S., now it's back to a regional conflict. You know what? We can push them away now. If they want to kill each other and they want to do what they do, that's the way I feel now.
I don't see Iran having much left to stand on at this point. What you're watching is the systemic picking apart and destruction, and systemic's the wrong word. Systematic destruction of Iran by Israel. At the end of this, Iran's done. And Israel's doing it in such a brilliant way that it doesn't require the U.S. getting involved in 20 years and billions of dollars. Correct. I mean, this is amazing.
Oh, I think so too. I agree with you.
And it required Israel taking the lead, doing all the hard work, absolutely,
right.
And then a president that wasn't going to restrain Israel from what it did to Hezbollah, Hamas, Gaza, all that stuff. You finally got a president that's like, no, go do what you need to do to protect yourself. And then at the exact moment that the United States needed to act, Donald Trump acted decisively, brought in the weapons that needed to be used. It's beautiful.
It is. I love it. I love how it's unfolding. And it's historic and a day we'll never forget. VP J.D. Vance on the main objective.
You're asking, were the Iranians close to a nuclear weapon? Brett, they were very close to a nuclear weapon. And what I'd encourage my fellow Americans to think about here is that a week ago, the Iranians were quite close to achieving a nuclear weapon. Now they cannot build a nuclear weapon. That is the biggest testament to the president's leadership and to the success of our mission. In 1 week, without, thank God so far, not losing a single American casualty, we have taken what was a threatening nuclear program that could have destabilized the entire world. Now that program is gone. We did it through effective presidential leadership and also some very, very competent work from our troops.
Former Castle Rock Mayor Randy Reed is a no on home rule in Douglas County right now on today's ballot. He was on with Jeff and Billy last hour. He's actually for it, but opposed to how Douglas County went about it.
I think there just should have been more public input prior to bringing this issue to find out, do the Douglas County residents really want home rule or not? And what do they want that home rule to look like? I hate to say it, but the way this is going now, it's a Nancy Pelosi deal. We got to pass it to find out what's in it. And I don't think that's what I'd call a representative government here in Douglas County.
Immigrant rights groups in Colorado are raising concerns after reports that federal Medicaid officials shared personal data with Homeland Security to aid deportation efforts. Bethany Prey, Chief Legal and Policy Officer for the Colorado Center on Law and Policy, says these requests are overstepping boundaries.
You need to have some trust between people and their governments. The actions of the federal government right now are really damaging that. It would be really a betrayal. We are hoping that they will demonstrate to Coloradans that they will keep their promises, essentially.
Well, if the individuals are illegal, they waived their rights when they just bum rushed the country and invaded illegally. They didn't care about the laws then. Go ahead and miss me with all that. LA's police chief is defending his department's handling of recent immigration protests. LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell says allegations of excessive force and indiscriminate use of non-lethal weapons and tear gas and lack of oversight are simply not accurate. The chief says when demonstrators began throwing objects, setting fires, and refusing to disperse after repeated lawful orders, officers were justified in taking swift and measured action to prevent further harm and restore public safety. One person is dead and 2 officers are injured after a shooting on the campus of Texas Tech University in Lubbock. It happened just after midnight in the football stadium parking lot. Campus police were investigating a suspicious car. Then the driver pulled a gun and started shooting. Officers returned fire, killing him. It's unclear if the gunman was a student. Hey, how about these 2 bozos and a podcast? Jake Tapper joins F. Chuck Todd on Monday, and I'm going to play it for you next hour. Honestly, I thought these guys were the same individuals. I'll play it next hour. Dodgers at the Rockies tonight at 6:40. Oklahoma City with their NBA championship parade today for the Thunder. 61 in Lone Tree, 62 in Arvada, 63 and cloudy in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies to mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures will remain cool with highs only upper 70s and lower 80s. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms likely. There is a high risk of severe weather today all across eastern Colorado. A low tonight near 60. We may do it all over again Wednesday. Highs upper 70s to near 80 with showers and thunderstorms likely again. Some of those strong. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free no obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
We've got a poll up right now. If you go to x.com/Jeff Hunt, is the Middle East more peaceful because of Donald Trump? Vote there. Join the conversation. You can also give us a call at 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Let's go to Barney, Denver. Good morning, Barney. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, on the food thing, what does Mitch McConnell eat? Oatmeal?
Well, actually, what I think
in his veins.
Yeah, no. What happens is that every day, right around lunchtime, inside of his office, McConnell's staff brings into him. It's a large goldfish bowl, and just like the turtles that he comes from, he sticks his head in there and goes and grabs as many fish as possible.
That's perfect, Billy.
Yeah, that's what I think happens. Just a theory, though.
You guys get after it with each other. I was waiting for Dr. Phil to call him, but he didn't. But
Me too.
The nice thing about this is Jeff was just kind of like blah, blah. The people that love you, Billy, probably wanted to kill Jeff. I thought it was kind of hilarious the way Jeff was he wasn't really dismissing you, but he was just like, he just kind of put this wall up in your face. So,
oh, yeah.
But I would say to people that, because you keep saying, Jeff keeps saying to you about Trump, and Jeff, this is my advice to you. I've got liberal sisters I have to fight with all the time, and I finally just say, you know what? I don't care what Trump does. I'm with him 100%. So you guys can get wrapped up. I'm not going to. Whatever Trump wants to do, I'm good with it. And I would say about this thing with Iran, nothing's more. You have B-2s dropping bombs, 30,000 bombs from 60,000 feet. That's an attention getter for Putin and for China. Nobody else can do that. So these planes are incredible, and I don't know. This takes care of a lot of things, and if it's neutered Iran, I'm all in. But Israel needs to knock some of their crap off too. Obviously, Trump was probably right. You've never heard a president call out Israel like this. You've had the presidents that don't like Israel, talk their crap, but Donald Trump is supposedly the Israelis' friend. So he pretty much, I don't know. I love the guy, and whatever Trump wants to do, I'm good with. And by the way, I'm sure there's more of those B-2s lined up ready to go if anybody wants to act out of line. And I don't care how, ignorant this is, Trump can do whatever he wants.
Got a question for you on that, Barney, because I've heard, and again, I've seen a lot of conversation about this, both on the right and the left. The joy inside the left, I was real disappointed in. I'm like, wait, guys, I don't think this means what you think it means. But what I want to ask you, Barney, is the idea of MAGA being behind Donald Trump 100%, because I have heard some splinters from MAGA, most notably Marjorie Taylor Greene, saying, no way, no how, this is awful, Trump shouldn't be doing this one. And then Steve Bannon comes out, and he was kind of like no, we shouldn't attack Iran per se, but after Trump did it, he was telling Marjorie Taylor Greene, shut up and get in line. What do you think about those splinter factions that are inside of MAGA that say we shouldn't be doing this?
I don't count Bannon as anybody. Bannon is a fruitcake, in my opinion. I don't like him. I never have. He needs to wash his hair more. But he's just a gross dude. I'm sorry. I don't care what he thinks. I could care less what Steve Bannon says. I do like Marjorie, but you know what? And look at even oh God, what's the woman?
Who, AOC or Ilhan Omar?
No, the lady with the gray in her hair.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard, and now all of a sudden she's good with it. Look, all I'll say is Trump. Now, going back to the Iran thing, we've been hearing for 15 years. They're going to have nuclear weapons in 2 weeks. They're going to have them in 2 weeks. We've kind of been hearing that crap forever. But I really do think that Trump has got a way. Look, the Republicans told us way back, hey, you guys are going to vote for Jeb Bush. And we said, no, we're not. And it was kind of the beginning of the end. But I just think Trump is so rock solid with the people because I wasn't crazy about it being U.S. planes, but nobody else could have done what they did. It had to be the B-2s. So there's these, when you talk about splinters like this Massey, now, you know what, buddy, you can run your mouth all you want. We don't care what you think. This MAGA thing is real. It's rock solid. We're not hacks, Billy. And the one thing I'll say is, I mean, I might sound like a hack now, but this has been earned. 8 years of Bush, and I could choke on that vote. 8 years of Obama, and then 4 years of Biden. No, we've had enough. And we were, just like the left, we've been real slow. We don't riot. We don't protest. We just kind of go about our business. But these MAGA splinters, I wouldn't count Bannon as a splinter. I count him as one of our fruitcakes. He's kind of trashy, and I think we need to get rid of him. But, he doesn't speak for the party, the MAGA, whatever you call us.
Barney, Barney, really appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Now coming to us from the NATO summit in The Hague this week, President Trump on his way there with the latest developments on the Middle East. John Decker, White House correspondent. Good morning, John.
Morning.
Hey, good morning to you. That's right. I am here already in the Netherlands. The president will arrive here in about 5 hours' time after flying from Washington, D.C. Prior to leaving Washington, he expressed his frustration that a ceasefire deal that he helped broker, announced yesterday on social media, has already been violated by both Israel and Iran. The president obviously wants to get that ceasefire deal back in place to bring some semblance of stability to the Middle East.
Now, John, big debate during the 6 o'clock hour whether or not the ceasefire is still in place. Does a violation mean that the ceasefire is done with? They're back to where they were? Or is this chipping back and forth, a violation of the ceasefire, but things have changed from where they were 24 hours ago? Your thoughts?
Well, I think the president made his position very clear to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He doesn't talk to Iran. He leaves that to the Vice President and the Secretary of State, who have direct and indirect conversations with Iran. But the idea here is to get that ceasefire back in place. The President hailed that ceasefire yesterday when he announced it in the afternoon yesterday, and hopefully that can actually take effect. The president will obviously update the other NATO allies here at the NATO summit on the effect of that ceasefire. He'll also update his counterparts concerning the military action taken by the U.S. over the weekend at those 3 nuclear sites in Iran.
That's John Decker, White House correspondent. John, what should we be looking for this week? What are the big issues going to be discussed at the NATO summit?
Well, this is one of those issues, Iran's nuclear ambitions. That is front and center. Beyond that, the president will insist that every one of the members of the 32-nation NATO Defense Alliance pay their fair share in terms of defense spending. 23 out of 32 NATO members are already meeting that threshold, but there are 9 that are not. And so the president is going to put pressure on those countries during the course of this summit. The war in Ukraine will certainly be a topic, as it always is at the NATO summit. Those are really the primary issues on the agenda during the course of this 2-day summit.
We'll continue to watch that, and we'll look forward to your continued reporting on that. John Decker, White House correspondent, thank you so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
His signature sign-off.
I know.
Bye-bye.
I always have to wait. Normally, I cut Rory O'Neill off earlier, but he always says bye-bye. That's so nice.
Bye-bye. We didn't have much time with John Decker. Very busy time while he's at The Hague. Honored that he takes time to join us and give us a few minutes. One of the questions I want to get to, and we can discuss this hour too, is what do you expect out of Zelensky at NATO? He's not a member of NATO. And the thought of him joining NATO was what Russia cited as a reason for invading Ukraine. Ooh. So he's not a member, but you can still work the room. Believe me, most of my life has been not being the member of a gathering and working the room regardless of it.
You know, my friend, that's something very interesting that you just leaned into there that I hadn't actually considered is the presence of Zelensky at NATO and how does it change some of the conversations? Because if we go back in time to their previous meeting, Zelensky was a rock star. It was all about how do we support Ukraine? Ukraine this. He was the center of attention. And now it's almost the exact opposite where, oh yeah, that's still going on, but we're dealing with what's going on in the Middle East and we have to focus on more defense spending. So he might be at best topic number 3 on the list rather than during the previous meeting when he was the only topic on the list. That's interesting. We'll have to see how this goes.
Well, join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Speaking of Danny C., as we like to call him around here, big man Dan Caplis. We love this guy. He has been delivering for the people of Colorado for 40 years. 40 years, getting justice for people hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. If only we were a little bit more Republican, Dan would make a great governor. He cares about people. That's what matters most to him. Son of a police officer, former seminarian. He's with us on the values. But listen to how he delivers for Coloradans in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. In fact, Dan Caplis Law is so trusted, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the world champion Colorado Avalanche. They're both world champions. And they invest in Dan because he's a world champion. Dan Caplis Law, serious firm, serious case. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S, law.com. Phone lines are hot. I can get one in. So give us a call, 303-696-1971. Matt, Steve, you guys are up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I have a poll up at x.com/Jeff Hunt asking the question that Bill and I debated in the first hour, and it's continuing to rage. Is the Middle East more peaceful because of Donald Trump? Right now, 75 yes, 25 no %. Is there a ceasefire in place? Are they just chipping back and forth? Is this a violation of the ceasefire? Is the ceasefire out altogether? And what do you think of what Donald Trump's been able to achieve along with Israel? I think everything changed on October 7th. Israel no longer was going to allow those folks that wanted their complete demise to live next door to them. They're just not going to. They learned a hard lesson, a very hard lesson, that while there might have been some back and forth wars in the past and back and forth recently, October 7th proved that you just can't live next to neighbors like that. You have to go all the way. And that's what Israel's doing. They're taking apart Hamas entirely. They're taking apart Hezbollah entirely. There's been regime change in Syria. They've now taken out a lot of Iran's senior leadership. I mean, to the point where the depth chart is like all gone except for the top guy. He's the last one left. They needed bunker-busting missiles. Donald Trump delivered that over the weekend. And now there's a ceasefire. But is there a ceasefire? That's what Bill raised the question, and then we got into it. So, want to hear from you. Let's go to the phones. Steve, Denver, welcome to the conversation. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, folks. I'm not MAGA and I'm not Trump, but both things, the bombing and then the ceasefire, are enormous wins for Trump and enormous wins for the United States. I mean, even if the bombing didn't get every single particle, or even if there's a ceasefire and there's a little hiccup here or there, long story short, this is historic. And you look at the surgical nature of these activities, the fact that this is going to grind to a halt one way or another. There's still going to be animosity, but in terms of Americans and no loss of life and minimal loss of life, if any, on the side of our bombing of the nuclear facilities, and that's where Democrats go wrong, because they fail to acknowledge these things. And they look silly when they're complaining about the edges.
Yeah, Steve, one of the things that has disappointed me the most in this was a bunch of the Democrats running around and claiming that Trump did this illegally. Trump should have asked Congress. Trump should have. I'm tired of that. Not Trump, but Congress has abdicated their responsibility and their authority over actions like this for decades. And what I dislike the most is the hypocrisy of seeing when we have a Republican president and they take actions like this, that it becomes the Democrats going, oh my gosh, they're violating the Constitution. But if this was a Democrat president doing the same thing, like Obama, we'd have a whole bunch of Republicans running around, violation of the Constitution, violation of the Constitution. It's so performative at any level. And you're right, that members of the Democrat Party should come out and give Trump credit for how effective this bombing campaign was. It was going to accomplish X, and so far seems to have gotten most of that. Yeah, that's fair.
Bill, the Democrats look so damn silly.
Yeah,
I mean, you look like petulant children. And the country is, if you ask the country, these two moves, the ceasefire and the bombing, the country's overwhelmingly supportive of Trump. And I think the general sentiment of the country is something like, well, we don't want them to have that weapon. And this is not Dick Cheney 2.0, where we're going to be there forever and blah, blah, blah. So whatever the Democrats are drinking, it's the wrong stuff, because every day they go in the wrong direction. And then you got clowns wanting to impeach him. Well, hello, it's an entire Republican Congress, and this is not an impeachable offense, and you just lose credibility by day.
Yeah, I'm also, and again, I appreciate bringing up the idea of impeachment. I'm incredibly disappointed with how loosely we now throw that term around. And I agree that the Democrats kind of overstepped the boundaries based on impeachment. But if we go back to Bill Clinton, every single president since then, we've had the opposition party saying impeach, 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 and several occasions drawing up articles of impeachment. It gets silly because if there's always a claim of impeachment in every single cycle of a change in president, it becomes irrelevant. It just becomes that we expect it. And so there is impeachment, in my mind, becomes absolutely irrelevant because everybody keeps crying about it all the time. It's like crying wolf.
All right, Jeff, you're awful quiet over there.
No, I mean, so part of the reason why we have all these impeachments, Jeff or Steve, is because of these special counsels that were created. And I always found it interesting that Ken Starr, who was the special counsel that led to the impeachment of Bill Clinton, later in his life, he's passed on since, but he became a great friend of the Centennial Institute Western Conservative Summit, felt that special counsels were not right for our government, because you basically empower a chief investigator to go find and dig through anything they possibly can. Because if you remember, the impeachment of Bill Clinton didn't start with Monica Lewinsky. It was Whitewater. And then it got to Monica Lewinsky, and then but you basically give all these people power with these special prosecutors, and then go out there and do that. So that's where part of the problem is.
Starr was on his way to the Supreme Court. He was a mainstream Republican. He was young. He was on the, I think, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, and then he became the boogeyman.
Yep, and he understood that in his book, which I read. He comes to terms with the fact that he was never, his dream, which was to be a U.S. Supreme Court justice, was never going to happen after the prosecution of Bill Clinton. So, Steve, really appreciate the call.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
Call.
Great to hear from you. Let's continue. We'll get to Matt here in just a second. Guys, let's talk advanced hair restoration. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity's lost altogether. Well, I got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. Look, we've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe your hair will regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver now 2 years in a row. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. All right, let's go to Matt. Matt, Denver. You're on with Jeff and Bill. Good morning, Matt.
Morning.
Okay, gentlemen, so good to be with you here. Now, let's just set the stage. It's obviously not true that the war's over and there's a permanent peace agreement. I mean, the Jubilee, seconds after that was announced, through social, everywhere you go, war's over, Trump has brought peace. I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't think people appreciate what just happened to Iran. So, number one, do you guys consider Iran's nuclear ambitions and nuclear program a greater asset, or like their oil reserves and oil capability? What made the world more eyes on Iran, the nuclear or the oil?
I think those are two different questions, because
here's where I'm going, Billy.
Well,
but think about it.
But they're two different questions, because the valuable asset is the oil under the ground. But the reason people turned eyes there and were paying attention was because of the nuclear threat.
Yeah, and they chanted death to America and death to Israel.
Okay, perfect. You guys are walking right into it. So the only reason we're paying attention to Iran is because of the nuclear. They'd be like United Arab Emirates. We wouldn't even know who or what. We hadn't heard of them unless of nuclear. So we just supposedly pulverized, took that out of the game. Jeff, you just said it. This country hated us so much, supposedly, before that event. How do you think they feel now? Do they like us more or less after taking the only thing that basically was protecting them up until this point, or I guess keeping people at bay? We took that away. why on earth is everybody thinking with kumbaya after this? As we know, there was pointed out by Trump, and again, he needs to be very careful. Head on a swivel, he publicly criticized Israel. The last president to do that was John F. Kennedy, and they blew his head off. So, gentlemen, those two things are right there on the table.
Israel blew
Go ahead.
JFK's head off?
Well, I'm just saying the result was, I know you guys don't want to go there. I'm very comfortable with who did that. But for purposes, he spoke negatively of Israel. He's not with us anymore. But this was the last public criticism of Israel since that time. I'm just telling you that's a bold moment for Trump to call them out.
I disagree on you drawing that causal relationship.
And I think Israel has a great working relationship with President Trump, to where President Trump feels the freedom, like you do with an ally, to sometimes just tell him to knock it off.
Yeah.
It's not an anti-Semitic, anti-Zionistic worldview.
And Trump has just given Bibi Netanyahu his dream. Right. Netanyahu is trying to get this. He's been trying to get the U.S. to get militarily active in Iran and bomb the nuclear sites for nigh 3 decades. So now but Netanyahu has achieved his goal, and now you're like, no, but Trump has done this too. No, Netanyahu's gotten exactly what he wants out of Trump. My opinion is Trump can say what he wants about Israel because Netanyahu's getting exactly what he wants. He knows that Trump will play along with this. So I disagree that Trump has called out Israel and done something negative that is going to end in something like an assassination attempt. And I disagree with that. But here's another question for you. Here's another question. So you were talking about the idea of Iran and almost we're not seeing that push for regime change. We're not seeing the uprising. Matt, in your opinion, why, after Netanyahu made the announcement and says we are taking out some of the leadership and command and control inside of Iran, why are we not seeing the uprise of the people looking for regime change? Why is that not happening in your mind?
Well, that regime change was never going to come from Iran's people. It was going to come from destabilizing their government done by us. You know, we have to remember, the people of Iran were not saying free us. We a lot of times shove that narrative into countries. Iran was not an unstable cultural country before this. And this hasn't even started yet. We haven't even done anything. You took out, those sites are not population centers, but you know, Israel has a lot of power here because if they choose to retreat and listen to President Trump, there will be no regime change. They weren't pounding on the doors of the kingdom saying, we want free, we want democracy, we want Christianity in Persia. None of that was going. This was going to be a synthetic, an artificial regime change. Is that not, am I way off on that, Billy? Or was this going to be organic?
No, oddly enough, Matt, this is one of those times in which you and I are in total agreement that I believe this assumption of regime change inside of Iran is very, very dangerous because I know the Iranian people do want more freedom, but I don't think that they're going to do it because another country took out their leadership. And everything that I've seen in the previous 5 or 6 days inside of Iran, again, it's sketchy reporting, but what I've seen is more nationalism than regime change. And it's not that the Iranian people, from what I've seen in the reporting, are celebrating their leadership or the idea of who was ruling them, but more it's the idea of this is my country and my flag, and I'm not going to let another country come in and tell us what to do. It's many of the ways that the U.S. sits there and talks about, and just last hour we were talking about home rule. Same kind of idea that Iran is looking at this saying, no, we want home rule. We don't want the U.S. coming in and telling us what to do.
Perfectly said. Jeff, I would just say this. It doesn't have to jump all the way to anti-Semitism to criticize Israel. That's where we've got to get back to in America, where you could call out Israel for despicable conduct, just like you would Zimbabwe. Israel needs to be put in that same light. People need to break through this fake lie of this Judeo-Christian brotherhood. It's not true. And
Matt,
people just
but you're the one.
minutes.
Matt, you just said that Israel had something to do with the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Correct. But that doesn't mean every Jew should be burnt to a crisp, John. That just means
but I mean,
Israel is.
You don't think that's rooted in some form of anti-Semitism on your part?
Well, no, gosh, no. Because if it was the Sudanese we discovered had done this plot, I would still say.
But Matt, I've never seen any evidence of this. I mean, I've heard that the Russians might be involved. I've heard that the Cubans might be involved. But the Jews, that seems to put them into this category, which I think is anti-Semitic, that somehow the Jews control the world. They control all these institutions, and that, they're acting nefariously. I don't think that.
Yeah, but let's say every Jew's a choir boy. Let's just go with that for a second. Here's the deal. They're overrepresented in American government. You know that. And I'm just telling you, if we had that many Chinese...
That's because they're good people. And they build good communities. That's where we're different. You know what, Matt? They're also overrepresented by Nobel laureates because they're smart
and billionaires
people.
And everything.
Right. They're good and smart people. They build good families.
But look for the fruit. But, Jeff, look for the fruit. Alejandro Mayorkas is a rabbinic Jew. He did the border thing. Rochelle Walensky, another Jew.
The fruit is they're some of the best people in the city of Denver and Colorado.
But not the ones in our government. Not the ones in our government. And that's the difference. I know Moses was a great Jew. And I know there's still those that practice that. This is a different animal. And the fruit tells us all we need to know. You just got to see. Are they Jewish? And what are they producing for American? Adam Schiff, another one. I mean, go down the list. It's not because you're Jewish. It's because you're operating in a demonic, secular, parasitic form, and it's not to criticize every Jew.
Matt, couldn't it just be the fact that they're just liberal and you disagree with them? I mean, that's the issue that I kind of hear here, but thanks for the phone call. That could be the issue, that you just disagree with them politically, not the idea of inside of the religion. But that was
we wouldn't have Western civilization without Judaism. So,
I just don't look at it. I mean, he's talking about the idea of the number of them in government. See the number of lawyers we have? Damn. That's a lot of them. And I'm just saying,
they make up like 2% of the population, like 20% of all Nobel Prizes. It's because Judaism actually produces good, family-loving, smart people.
Yeah, the thing for me is,
its religion does, its discipline does, it's family-oriented, community-oriented.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that we got people like, Chris and Corey and George that all listen that seem to have these law degrees. I just say that we have too many lawyers, and if we're gonna start somewhere, have too many of what? I'd say too many lawyers in government because but that's me. That's my own pain point.
Well, Matt's critique almost reminds me of the time I was after the 2022 elections, where I said Colorado's electing a whole bunch of Marxists, and it's going to be worse off for us. We're going to have more deaths, we're going to have more poverty, we're going to have all that. And Kyle Clark went, "Look at Jeff, he's criticizing the Jews," and I was like.
Wait,
no,
hang on.
I'm actually criticizing the leftist Marxists out there that come up with terrible policies for our communities. It has nothing to do with their Judaism. So I almost see like the circle where Kyle Clark and Matt end up back in the same area.
Oh, would that be a fun cocktail party?
Kyle Clark looks at me and goes, "Oh, his criticism of the left means he's actually criticizing Jews."
Yeah, you know what we need though.
And then Matt goes, "Well, you're criticizing the left because they're actually Jewish," and you're like, "You guys are in the same."
See, here's the thing:
category.
If we can get Matt and we can get Kyle into a cocktail party, we could sell tickets on one condition: if we also can add our frequent caller and listener, Barney. Because Barney would make that so much fun. Because Barney would be like, "What are you guys doing?" He would just lose it on both of them, which would be fantastic. So
I love that, but that's Kyle Clark. I don't want to see him at a cocktail party. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill
There you
Show.
got something to throw in his face. I'm just saying. Denver Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm not advising for that. I'm just saying.